Welcome to Help! I Have Kids. I'm your host, Pam Marshall, a mom of 5 and a pediatric occupational therapist with over 35 years experience. This podcast is designed to equip you with practical tools, insights from experts, and real-life stories. Because at the end of the day, you are the head of your child's care team. Each week, you'll hear from pediatric experts and fellow moms like you that will help build your confidence. They'll offer clarity and empower you to make informed decisions that work for your whole family. She shows me a video of her falling that she saved from the work cameras.
I sent it out on Slack to everybody in the office. If you fall down, it's fair game, right? And I've posted videos of other people falling down in the clinic, and I sent it out to everybody, but I named it Beth Splat. And Ronisha's computer went down, and Robin had to reset the whole thing. And she's like, is there anything you need to keep on this? And she goes, please don't get rid of Beth Splat. She goes, I watch it when I need to laugh, because I just literally
face plants in the hallway.
It's bad.
Oh, it's very funny. Welcome to today's episode of Help! I Have Kids podcast. It's all about speech development, what to look for, how to support speech, and how to ease the worry, because most of us moms wonder, are we doing enough? Joining me today is Beth Blankenship. She is a mom and a seasoned speech language pathologist. She's done it all, worked in lots of different settings, and most recently, she is Marshall Pediatric Therapy's clinic direct manager up at Georgetown, and she's the assistant clinical director. You can listen a little bit more to her on episode 2. She gives a long introduction of herself, but today she'll tell us a little bit about herself as a mom.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here. So I'm Beth. I'm a speech therapist. I've been a speech therapist for about 26 years. I'm a mom to 4 boys, and my husband, Jimmy, is a pharmacist, and we live in Georgetown. And I've just had, like she said, I've had a lot of experience in different areas. I've worked with adults. I've worked with kids. I've worked in acute care. So all kinds of different experiences, and my own kids too. So I kind of know a little bit about speech.
So what are some things parents wonder a lot about their child's speech and language development, especially those kids that are not talking compared to their peers?
Sure.
What are some things that parents can be aware of, and what are the red flags to look for?
Yeah. So, it's really important to know that kids do things on their own timeline, that professionals have drawn out a nice, pretty timeline for us to kind of gauge whether we're on track or if there are some skills that we still need to work on. But so just looking at those developmental milestones, there are lots of resources out there, because we'll typically ask our family and moms and grandmas and aunts and uncles and friends or mention that you're worried about your child's speech and language. But just knowing that sometimes that advice is good and can be reassuring. And sometimes they'll say, oh, he'll just talk when he's ready. And while that's true, they're not going to talk until they're ready. You might need a little bit more support from somebody who has training in what normal development of language looks like and what disordered development or delayed development looks like, so that we can help build those foundational skills to build upon them. Yeah. So just looking for looking at those milestones, and there are a couple really good sources out there that we're going to put in the notes, put the links there for you. The one that I typically go to, even still today, is on the American Speech, Language, and Hearing Association's website. It's very easy to find your child's age and then look at all the different things that they should be doing, or words they should be saying, or sounds they should be making, and things like that. So
if I have a 2.5-year-old, I can just click on that age range change, and it'll
Absolutely.
kind of describe what
Yeah,
my
yeah.
child should do.
Absolutely. I always tell everybody that are, birth to a year, you're just wanting them to look at you, turn their head towards your voice.
Mm-hmm.
You want them to be smiling. A few weeks old, they start smiling, to smile when they see you, to look, watching your face. Calming when you talk to them. Your voice should be very soothing to them. They should be most interested in hearing their mom and dad's voices and siblings. So you want them to be in tune with that. And then as they get a little older, by the time they're 1, I absolutely want them to have at least one meaningful functional word. So mama, dada, ball, doggy.
They always say dada first.
I know.
Why
they do.
is that?
It's a very visual sound. I'm not sure. If we could figure that out, we
They
could
love it.
solve the problem.
In most languages, they say dada first.
Yeah.
I think it's so interesting because communication is a back and forth. It's not just me, the mom, saying something to a child and a child say something back. It's a back and forth and back and forth. And there's nonverbal communication, like an eyebrow or a smile or an expression or a hand reaching out or something. And then there's also verbal. And I think that first year of life, it's so fun as a mom to watch the progression of that back and forth communication, even without words sometimes. Or sometimes it's sounds, sometimes it's just expression.
Right. And we teach that a lot when parents come in with young babies, is imitating them is just as important as them imitating you, because it teaches them that back and forth thing. Yeah. And, if they say goo, then you say goo, and then that you wait for them and give them time to try it again. Just getting them to learn that back and forth. And then as they get a little older, if we haven't mastered that, we'll start trying back and forth things with things that they can do, like motor activities, rolling a ball back and forth. That's a turn taking. An imitation thing doesn't look like speech therapy, but it's so important just to learn to take those turns. So, and parents can feel really silly about imitating their kids. Right. Or I know, when I was a new mom, the big thing was don't baby talk to your kids. You want to talk to them like they're a grown up. And I couldn't disagree more. Like, I definitely want you baby talking to babies. That's why we do that. Like, getting them to see that what they're doing is important enough for you to do it too. Like, if they make a sound, I'm going to make it. Or if they wave their hand, I'm going to wave my hand. I can mirror what they're doing.
Now that you say that, it really is one of the most powerful things as a professional and as a mom that I've done. But as a professional, when we work with children who are non-speaking, who might be older children, like 7, 8 years old, the most powerful thing you can do to connect with them is to imitate them.
Absolutely.
Imitation is such a connecting.
It is. It is. Thing. It shows them that what they're doing is valuable and that you want to, what they say, imitation is the highest form of flattery.
Yes, it's
right?
true.
So it even is with little ones. They're like, oh, I must have done that right because she's doing it too. Yeah. And when you imitate them, it teaches them to imitate you so that they can start building those higher level speech and language skills.
And sometimes we think imitation is like just a 1 or 2 little things that you're going to imitate, but really if you do it, I've done it 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes sometimes, and all of a sudden you're now in that child's world, like where they wouldn't let you in their world before, and now all of a sudden you are in their world, connecting with them and maybe even giggling together, even though they're nonverbal. So that can be applied to children of all ages.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we do that, no matter where your child is in their development. If they're missing those skills, we have to go back and catch them and get them back so that we can build on top of those building blocks.
So the different ages, there's different age requirements in the journey of communication. And really, parents, there's so many resources out there where parents can click something that is their child's age and read what should a child be doing in terms of communication or cognition or whatever the developmental milestone is that you're concerned about.
And I always remind parents that those are minimums. You want them to at least be doing that. So if we don't at least have one word by one. We need a professional to kind of get eyes on that
Right.
kiddo. But I've always heard 50 words by age 2, but I would really like 150 words, and I'd really like your 2-year-old to be putting 2 words together.
Yes.
But if they don't at least have 50, then we absolutely know that there's a delay. But if we are at 50 but not over that, or you're not gaining new words every day or week, then we probably need to come to speech therapy too.
And what's your view on baby signing? Because I know this has really been popular recently, and especially with all the apps and electronics that kids are engaged in, that being able to teach a baby to sign more or more drink or whatever it is they want. What's your view on
I
signing?
love signing. I think when you look at language development, typical language development, you see that kids use gestures first, then they'll start producing play sounds. So gestures, I would consider waving bye-bye a gesture, knocking on the door is a gesture, holding up their hands like, I don't know, is a gesture, doing a facial expression like a wow face. Those are all gestures, and I want them to have a really good bank of gestures they're using, and then they'll start using those play sounds. So the car goes down the road and it says and the train making the choo-choo sounds and those type things.
Animal sounds. They're so fun to make.
Yes. All those play sounds, those whoa and bam when things fall down or crash. Those are all environmental sounds or play sounds that we want to hear when they're saying them. They're easier than words, but they're those pre-skills to those getting those words. So gestures come first. So I'm a huge proponent of baby sign, and all people sign. We all use gestures in our body language, and my kids used more, and they used please, and they used sorry. And I think a lot of times parents don't think about integrating those, or they're afraid to because they think it's going to suppress their language or make them more delayed because they'll use it as a crutch, which is absolutely the opposite happens. Like
research
if I give them,
shows it's opposite. Yes.
If I take the stress off of the verbalization, actually forming the word with your mouth, and give them a way to do it that they can be successful, they'll become verbal faster. So even with my own boys, when they started signing more, they started saying more. When they started saying please and sorry, I think some of them were 3 years old when they finally stopped signing that please and sorry. So yeah, absolutely teach those gestures. Pointing is a big deal, and you don't have to know a sign. If it's a sign to you, it's a sign for me. You just tell me what they do that means this, and I can follow that.
I've heard a lot of speech therapists say that signing is just a bridge. It's just a bridge to get to the language. And there's so many other techniques you all use as expert language therapists to get kids, to bridge kids to the next part of development.
Yes. We use pictures. We use voice output devices, recorded buttons, all kinds of things that are very accessible now to parents that used to be high dollar. But you can get a voice output button now off Amazon. You can get 5 for $17. So, and put them all over your house. So if you have a non-speaking
a little
child,
like the speech therapist who has her dog talking. That's always fascinating to see that this dog touches those things, those little round buttons for words. And I think it's absolutely fascinating.
I know. Yep. It's amazing.
But, you can use those buttons. That's great. Are there any other misconceptions our moms listening might benefit from? Like any other misconceptions that you can think about around speech development that parents sometimes have?
Yeah. I tend to ask a lot of questions when moms bring their kids in for speech therapy, and a lot of them will have had concerns a long time before pediatrician notices that. So just being very observant of your child and how they communicate. I typically get more concerned if a child's not attending to their name, not following simple directions. They may be very quiet when they play, not making a lot of noise, just doing the whine or the grunt to get things. Those things are things that we would want to see so that I could help give you suggestions on how to get them past that stage and into the next one to get them to where there are words. But just encouraging parents to reach out sooner rather than later,
Mm-hmm.
because speech is linked to so many things, academics, social interactions, reading, spelling, and to get those skills before they go to school is really important.
And I think some moms, it just doesn't sit right when they hear those dreaded words. Let's just wait and see. Let's just wait a bit and see, when the mom knows, there are signs that their child just is not developing the way that they should be.
And if they need a little help, like with signs or with an assistive technology tool to get there, then we absolutely want, putting the menu on pictures, what's in the refrigerator, so they can point to what they want without having to use those words. So just knowing that stuff's not going to stop their development, it's actually going to help them.
Yes. So a lot of parents may not know or may not be aware that several years ago, the milestones for speech language development were changed. And it really stemmed from, I think, the delays that children have been having. And the delays have been so high that they started looking at, well, maybe we need to change these milestones so that there are maybe not as many referrals early on. But what are your thoughts about that, in those changed milestones, meaning children now can speak later, about 6 months, they were kind of pushed back.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that?
I was really concerned when I saw that come out, because I already feel like parents are waiting longer than I would like them to come get help. Because as parents, we don't know everything. You're not supposed to know everything.
No.
Some things are just outside of what typical parenting you would know, and how to work on those skills. So when I saw those, I was kind of sad. I was like, I'm really, and I probably still think old school on those milestones and want them. That's why I always say that's a minimum. Absolute minimum.
Right.
If we're not there, you definitely need speech therapy. I would probably put your kiddo with a therapist, but way before that, probably 6 months before that. So just using caution when you see those, and again, trusting your mom gut, being able to say, it's just not. Just doesn't feel right. He's not able to communicate his wants and needs with me. He's not able to do the things his peers are doing when you go to the library or the playground. If he's playing by himself and he doesn't know how to interact with other kids or communicate, we want to see them so that we can get you and your child back on the right track.
Yeah, that's really great advice right there. Are there some practical things that parents can do at home to boost their child's development? Like if a mom listening is thinking, oh, my child needs some help.
Yeah.
What do you recommend?
Yeah, so play with your child. I had a supervisor of mine one time say, I don't know what you do. It just looks like you play with kids all day. And I was like, well, good. That's what it's supposed to look like. I want it to look like I'm playing with kids all day, because that's what I'm doing. Play is how they learn. That's the root of their learning. But absolutely getting down on their level, playing with them on the floor, giving them your undivided attention in play, bringing toys to your mouth. If you notice they're interested in what they're doing, and you've got the chosen toy. So if you're playing trains and you've got the main train and he really likes that, and you can get their attention, hold it up next to your mouth and say the words or make the sounds with it up by your face to draw their attention to your face. So you're not saying, watch me, look at me, but you're getting their attention on your face, which is hard to do if they're beneath you and you're not on their level. But just bringing that attention, over articulating, slowing your speech down. When in busy houses with lots of kids and things happening, phones ringing, technology going all the time, sometimes it's just hard for them to even try to speak. So just, bringing things down, slowing your speech down so that they can hear those sounds that you're making, and saying the word. If you're playing train, you're going to say train 100 times while you're playing train, and you're going to you're going to break things down into small segments, up, 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 down, down, down. Train goes up, expanding. So if they come and they say train, then you're going to say, yeah, it's a train, big train, little train, so then you're taking what they can do and you're expanding it with a descriptor word. So we're taking that one skill that we've mastered saying train. Now we want to put 2 words together. So just building on what they have, slowing down and being present in your child's play, and doing a lot of focus play. Like I do a lot of themed play. So maybe it's farm play that he's interested in today. So we're going to play farm all day long, and we're going to do everything we do with that
and
farm
typically
vocabulary.
when you're playing farm, you would have the environment, like all the other toys picked up and put away. You would just have that farm out, or just have that one thing out that you're focused on. When you say focus play, is that
absolutely
what you're describing?
And I typically give a lot of guidance on how to organize toys at home, because I know when you have a living room full of toys, a lot of times they'll jump from activity to activity, and they just seem like they're bouncing around and not finishing anything or spending more than a few minutes. So if we can put things away, and I actually did first steps therapy, which is in-home therapy when I was a young clinician.
I did too. That birth to 3 was fun.
And one of the babysitters that was in the home, she had play bins for different days of the week. So they had a Monday, Wednesday play bin, a Tuesday, Thursday play bin, and a Friday play bin. So those were the toys that were out those days.
So wise, so smart.
Yeah.
Yes, we did that too. Rotated a lot. We would put, for seasons, we would put toys up, and then we would bring certain toys out.
Yes.
And kind of have that rule where you've got one thing out at a time, so your whole entire room isn't filled, because it's confusing.
It happens so fast,
it's
too.
It's confusing to have too many things
It
out.
is. It's confusing. It's distracting. So they typically do bounce around a lot more, and that attention span doesn't build, because we're also working on spending more and more time on certain things. But then also putting toys out of their reach or out of where they can't see them gives them an opportunity to need you to communicate and to ask you. So I'll tell parents, put things in containers that they can't open by themselves, or put them up on a shelf where they can't reach them, so that they have to need you, because you want them to come and communicate with you. If they can just get access to it by themselves, they're not going to say what they need.
And that's probably the first step, is for parents, for you all to be thoughtful about what you're on autopilot doing. Like so many times we as parents, we don't need to have our child ask for a drink or food. We just know the sign and we go get it, or they walk over to a refrigerator and we're just getting them a drink and we're not saying anything. So if we're not verbal processors as a parent, we might just go ahead and do things and have no words in it.
Right.
When you really can model.
Absolutely. Giving them choices.
A drink.
Yeah, giving them 2 choices. Holding up 2 things, or saying, do you want juice or do you want milk? So that they have to say milk, or point to milk, so that they're making that choice, and wherever they are, challenging that level a little more. I've given my kids applesauce but no spoon, or ice cream and no spoon, and they just sit there and look around like, where's the spoon? But then eventually they'll tell me they need a spoon, or they'll go try to get the spoon, and I can say, what are you looking for? And try to model that language or set those situations up so that you're giving them more chances to communicate.
So being very thoughtful, that's a strategy moms and dads can use, is being thoughtful about that. Well, those are great, lots of strategies to try. What are some signs when you talk about speech therapy? Like when is it time to advocate for your child and say, we just really need to get into speech therapy? When is that, do you think?
Yeah, so I typically will tell parents to look at those milestones and to see, where they are. If your child is more than 6 months behind on those developmental milestones, you definitely want to come in. And I also look at the milestones before that. Has your child mastered those milestones that came before the one you're looking at? So if you're looking at must have one word by the time they're one, did they hit the 6-month or the 9-month milestones, or were there a few pieces there he still doesn't have yet? And then definitely getting your pediatrician's attention and reaching out to try to get in for at least a screening or an evaluation. If you bring your child for an evaluation and they don't need speech, we're going to tell you that. We're going to say he's right on track, everything looks great. But if he does need support, then you're in the right place.
Yeah.
So I typically would say if you have a 1-year-old that's not turning their head to their name, responding to their name, they're not taking turns, they're not soothing, they're not interested in music, they're not interested in what's going on around them, they're not engaging in some of that early turn-taking communication, they're not pointing at things, then you want to come and be seen. A 2-year-old that's not starting to put words together, is not, making some of those speech sounds, those early sounds like M's, B's, P's, MB's, P's, T's, D's, all those really, those sounds that are made at the very front of your mouth are going to be the early developing sounds.
And so what's the big deal if my kid does that at age 4 or 5? What's the big deal? Why should they do it at 2?
Right. So they need to do it early because there are a lot of sounds we have to perfect. And then we have to start learning to blend those sounds and put those sounds together in consonant blends and syllables. And by the time they're 4 or 5, they're getting ready to go to school. And everything about reading is based on sounds, and sounds go together to make words, and words go together to build sentences. And if they're not understood at 4 by at 90% of the people that listen to them, a mom is always going to understand their kid. Like
Right,
I used to say I spoke Japanese because Jack had his own little speech errors and I understood him, but nobody else really did. Even his dad had a harder time understanding him. But, and that's common. Parents are always going to understand their kids better. And we call that how intelligible or how understandable are they to people who are familiar with their speech. That's always going to be a higher percent. But if your 4-year-old is not understood by unfamiliar adults or their peers, then they need speech therapy because that's going to start impacting their social interaction, their self-esteem. They're going to stop wanting to talk in front of people because they're going to get frustrated. And if you see frustration with language even earlier than 4, bring them to see a speech therapist because I don't want a child stop trying to communicate because they're angry or they're sad or their behaviors are starting to escalate because nobody understands them. If we
They're just so frustrated.
if we can get ahead of that, even those terrible 2s, I mean, that's a lot of that's communication. Like we just don't have the words yet. And so they get frustrated.
If I'm a parent and I choose to not get speech intervention or don't do anything about it, can that impact a child's ability to learn to read?
Absolutely. Yes, 100%. They go into school already behind their peers. And I tend to think we teach kids to read too early these days. I know that
I would agree with you.
I don't know that all kids are developmentally ready to learn to read at 4 and 5, but they're starting to do that. They should have pre-literacy skills by then. So understanding sounds and words and be wanting to do those kinds of things. So yes, absolutely. You need to have, we need to start working on those skills as early as possible to give them the best success in reading because, reading's hard for a lot of kids. It's based on a lot of our hearing and our auditory processing and our language skills and what we hear and how we process those sounds in our brain. So figuring that out at an early age is important. And if he's having difficulty listening and hearing those sounds younger and there are lots of ways that I can help a parent start focusing on those sounds so that when we get to reading, it's easier because once you're in like after third grade, you stop learning to read and start reading to learn. And so there's just
fourth
a few
grade
years.
is when it really ramps up in that 4th grade year. Yeah, I love reading some of the studies of some countries who their kindergarten age 5-year-olds are doing a lot of motor skills and a lot of free play and a lot of problem solving. They're not reading
Right.
and learning to write, and
Yes.
they're doing all these other things that give them a really strong foundation. And as an
Yeah.
occupational therapist, I love that. I
Yeah.
love reading those programs
Like,
that are
we're
like
already
that.
trying to teach them to write their name at 3 when they should just be drawing circles and lines. I mean, you know
Correct.
more about that than
That's
me, but I
right.
know that, I don't know, I don't expect a 4-year-old to be able to write a book.
So can you share a story that stands out to you of a child who made just fantastic progress because they got the support of speech therapy?
Yeah. So I had a kiddo who was a little over 2, not making a lot of sounds. He had some delays across the board with, he was in OT, he was in PT, and he came to see me for speech, and just was a very quiet player. Mom was fine. She told me that, that she wasn't super worried, but the other therapist thought he really needed to get into speech. So, just teaching her those strategies that we talked about, like holding up items next to your face, being very silly in play. And that doesn't come naturally to as many people. I think because it comes naturally to us as therapists.
Because we're people who love to play with kids.
Right. I play with strangers' kids all day long.
Yeah.
So just that it doesn't come naturally to everybody. So teaching them to, we talked about doing things in front of the mirror so he could see her mouth and his at the same time, doing itsy bitsy spider, starting to incorporate some of those fine motor and gross motor things in with communication with speech, singing songs, the fun stuff, and just, it wasn't all, I'm not going to do drill articulation therapy with a 2-year-old, but just getting them ready for that if they need it. So we're working on the imitation and things like that. But he was super like a sponge, just soaking it all up. And Mom was very willing to learn and willing to jump out of her comfort zone to be silly and play. But it was just nice to see. He came in, his therapist knew, and they recognized that in those other therapies, and said, I think he's just a little too quiet. He's not really making a lot of sounds, and he should have been putting a couple words together by then. So recently he started putting those words together and doing really well and playing a lot more flexible in his play, where he was very rigid in play before, meaning he just liked to play the same way or his way. And if I did something, he would get upset because I wasn't playing the right way. But after I just kind of let him know I'd play the way he wanted to, he started watching me. So his play expanded, and hopefully we're on the right track. But yeah,
That's
it's really
so
neat
exciting.
to see.
And I know there are probably some moms listening. We're all a little concerned that our child might grow up to have autism, right? That's a big buzzword right now because so many children are experiencing symptoms of autism, or maybe they end up with a diagnosis of autism. And it's great that there's a lot more information out there, hopefully helping parents in that journey to not be afraid of it, but to face it. There's a lot of children we see that get great help, and that's what you need to hear and know, moms, is there is wonderful help for your child out there. And if you suspect autism or someone around you suspects it, there's help. I mean, your therapy team can be some of the best advocates for both you and your child and teach you. And we have children all the time that progress amazingly well through the kind of sticking point or the signs of autism.
Yes.
So there's help. You just have to
absolutely
pursue it.
There's a lot of help, and don't wait for school. Like, I think that's a big thing. Parents will say, I'm just going to wait till he's in kindergarten, and then we'll do whatever he needs to do, or he can wait and get speech in kindergarten. If you're seeing signs of autism or a speech delay or any delay across the board, that you're seeing it, or your friends are seeing it, or you're seeing that he's just not quite playing like other kids. He, has those rigid play, or those very specific place.
Well, maybe there's even self-stim.
Yeah, some of
that
that
can be a
STEM.
big one.
Absolutely.
That instead of playing, they're self-stimming.
Yeah. So just reaching out and getting therapists on board earlier. Don't wait. Because like I said, if they don't need us yet, we'll tell you. They're great. Go home and play. You're doing a great job. But if they do need us, it doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. It just means that there's a delay and we want to try to catch them back up.
Well, we're about coming to the end of the episode, but I want to real quickly give parents some information that there is a journey. They can seek private medical help, like through their medical insurance, or they can also seek help through the educational system. And here in Kentucky, the educational system, and most states have this, they have a Birth to 3 program where if you're concerned about your child at a young age, you can pursue that program. They treat kind of in a natural environment, so your home or the daycare or wherever your child is during the day. And then from age 3, if they qualify, they can transition to preschool that is in your local public school. And then from there, they would, journey that 3 and 4-year-old year in that preschool if they're still delayed or still needing that support and help. Then they would go on to kindergarten. But all throughout this journey, you can also not only have school-based services, you can choose to have private services. So there's lots of choices in our listening area where you can go to seek help. But your pediatrician or your primary doctor should be the person to help you, to help find someone that can help your child, to help find a speech language pathologist that can help your child.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate you being here and giving us all of your great wisdom and insights.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
And I just love her. She's my friend.
I know. I love you too. I'm happy to be on your team.
Fun to do this together.
Yes, it is. It's a lot of fun.
Thanks so much for listening to Help, I Have Kids. If you're tuning into this podcast, that means you're a mom who's curious, committed, and ready to learn. And we see you. We'd love for you to join our Help, I Have Kids Facebook community where moms just like you are connecting, asking questions, and encouraging each other every day. It's a space for real conversations, expert insight, and support from moms who get it, because we're all in this together. And if you know a mom who's feeling unsure or maybe overwhelmed or just needs to be reminded that she can do it, she can advocate for her child with confidence, share this episode with her. We're building a village here, and we're glad you're a part of it.